Marion or Casper, do you have visibility on the ones joining in?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so I can start the presentation, if that's all right. So you two can just admit the people, and we can already start.
No problem, we can do that.
David, are you good to start now?
Ready to go.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in. So my name probably sounds very familiar to you, as I've been bombarding you with a lot of email since this webinar planned. I am Esmeralda Matiga, and I'm the business development lead for EDM at Matrix. So thank you for not blocking me so far. So I will also be managing questions or comments throughout the webinar. So feel free to throw in questions as we go along, and we'll be happy to answer those questions after the presentation. So I can see familiar logos and names here, but for most of you who are new to the company and what we're doing, we are Matrix Applied Computing. We have over 45 years of experience supporting engineering-driven organizations. We specialize in finite element analysis, computational fluid dynamics, product lifecycle management, and engineering asset and data management. What sets us apart is our engineering heritage, as we understand how engineers actually work and we deliver end-to-end solutions. Matrix supports a wide range of customers across utilities, energy infrastructure, and engineering services. That includes network operators, ports, and major asset owners. These organizations trust Matrix because we combine a deep engineering expertise with practical, proven EDM solutions. And we have some of our team members here in the webinar, so raise your hand if you're here. We are led by our General Manager for Information Engineering, Alana Avanon. So without further ado, I will turn you over to the main man of this webinar, our partner from Accruent. He is a global executive leader and educator with over 15 years of experience in multiple industries, verticals, and operating region. From Accruent, based in Utah, Texas, may I introduce to you David and Michael Shaw.
Thank you very much, Esmeralda, and good morning to everyone. It is great to meet you all. As you probably guessed by my accent, I am originally from Australia. I've been with RedEye for a number of years now, and now more recently Accruent since the acquisition of the RedEye platform. And as you can see there on the screen, I am based these days in the States. I've been in the States for a number of years, but so it is yesterday for me. So apologies if I drop any time zone issues and start referring to this afternoon, because that's where I am right now. So today, our goal is to share with you hopefully some really useful information that you can take away to your organizations immediately, information and kind of ideas that you can start to implement straight away, rather than just kind of sharing information. I want to share kind of thoughts and ideas and things that can hopefully improve how you're operating in your particular operating environment. So if we go to the next slide, please, Esmeralda. The big goal today is to really talk about collaboration as it relates to engineering content. And I mean, I think the big thing for me, and you're obviously on this webinar because you're interested in thinking about how you can make improvements around how you operate with engineering drawings, 3D models, SOPs, GIS data, whatever engineering content means to you and your particular organization. It's important for a number of reasons. The reality is having reliable access to information may sound simple at a superficial level, but actually can be really, really important and really, really hard. I mean, if you're working in a remote utility, for example, you can probably access hard copy drawings, but as soon as you're starting to layer in, maybe you've got a corporate office somewhere, maybe you've got consultants who are hundreds of kilometers away, that may not be as easy as you think to actually access that drawing. So how do you not just reliably access that information, but how confident are you that that content is accurate? And that's really where reliability comes from. And then that kind of layers in, we jump forward a slide. Online access is really, really important. It's one thing to just be able to share information, but again, layering in the availability and the online access of content with the reliability of that information can be really, really important for your organization. Usability is also a big one. For a lot of organizations these days, and I suspect everyone on this call is having similar issues. You've got an aging workforce, you've got a lot of experience retiring, and historically, software platforms were software platforms. Enterprise software, you just used it, right? You kind of might have grumbled about it, but you just used it. Whereas we're now starting to see kind of the next generation of people get employed at the enterprise level, and usability is a much more important concern for them, right? For someone who scrolls every lunchtime on Instagram or TikTok and understands intuitively how easy it is to use a mobile app or how easy it is to use a Web 2.0 software platform, to then have that kind of jarring step change back to, an enterprise platform that looks like it was built in the early 2000s can be quite difficult, right? So those are really important drivers for you as an organization. And if you look at how engineering content has been managed and how collaboration has happened anecdotally, there's always been a number of shortcomings. On-prem technology was fantastic. I suspect a lot of you have used on-prem platforms for a variety of kind of different use cases historically, but those were built around a certain number of technology, and it was a great step change from the prior example, which was probably just paper-based, right? But how do you then make improvements using cloud technology? How do you make improvements using mobile technology? Collaboration is also really, really important when you think about, to me, there's always three key layers to collaboration. There's collaboration within your organization. So your colleagues, whether that's at the same geographic location or whether you've got distributed offices or distributed infrastructure. How do you collaborate with people external to your organization? And that can be really difficult if you've got currently using on-prem software. But then how do you collaborate with other enterprise systems? That can also be really, really important, especially as we move to that more connected, that more user-friendly kind of enterprise ecosystem. How do you make sure that you're showing data across other enterprise systems? So when you think about collaboration, make sure you think about collaboration as it relates to collaborating between different enterprise software platforms as well. Cybersecurity always comes up, also is really, really important, and it should be really, really important. One of the good points of feedback I always do share, though, is just how secure is your current way of operating. If you're taking a drawing, for example, or a 3D model, and you're attaching it to an email and sending it to someone, all of a sudden you've lost control over the security of that email or the attachment in that email, right? So when you are having those conversations internally and you've got maybe you've got people within your IT department or across the organization saying, we can't go cloud, it's not secure, push back a little bit and just ask how secure your current way of doing things it actually is, because the reality is quite often it's not as secure as you probably would like it to be, and the cloud could actually be a viable alternative. And user experience there, I'm not going to kind of beat that dead horse again. It is really, really important, and it's really important as you start to see a younger generation of employees come into your workforce. And on that note, great segue. Go on to the next slide, please, Esmeralda. Stakeholder engagement is really, really important, right? And I really like to use this slide consistently because on the left, that kind of concept of who should access your engineering content. I have so many conversations with people who really look at it and go, well, there's so few people that need to access drawings. So it's fine if we've got this nice little shared drive or this nice little kind of on-prem instance or something. We don't have to worry about collaboration. It's only 1 or 2 emails a month to share information, right? Or it has to be controlled by us, et cetera, right? What you really recognize really, really quickly, right, is when you actually kind of do that stakeholder mapping and you realize who actually needs to access your drawings or your 3D models or your SOPs, your engineering documentation, whatever it looks like. There's a huge number of other stakeholders that you need to be aware of. Now, obviously, this list on the screen isn't exhaustive, but I do genuinely encourage you, as an end user, you're probably administrators or kind of engineers or doc controllers, whoever you are on the particular call right now listening in, to really just do a stakeholder map and really identify who actually needs to have access. Now, I live in the US. Public records access is a big deal. I'm not sure if it is so much in New Zealand, but just being aware of who potentially needs to access your content and how are you going about doing that? Have you got really clunky processes in place that are just really slow, that are really difficult to work with, that are just time consuming, probably introducing security risks? And is there a way to potentially improve on that with other tools, right? And that then leads us into what I want to show you today. Can we go to the next slide, please, Esmeralda? I want to take a look at, oh, next one again, ignore that one, sorry. I want to take a look at RedEye. So for those of you who haven't heard of RedEye, RedEye is a cloud-first and kind of digital mobile, kind of mobile native application that is now owned by Accruent. So Accruent is a provider of the Meridian platform that a lot of you may be familiar with. And RedEye has been in the market for probably close to 15 years now. It was started by 2 engineers in Brisbane, Australia, back in 2012, a long time ago. But I'm not here to just show you RedEye just to show you RedEye. What I really want to do is show you some of the key concepts that can help you improve how you operate, right? So I really want to focus on search, because search is so pivotal to how you collaborate. You can't collaborate on engineering content unless you can find what it is you want to collaborate on, right? And there's a number of key things you can look at there as an individual today that potentially can improve how you go around establishing your collaboration, right? I do want to take a look at kind of license models, right? Because RedEye has a very, very unique license model that's very differentiated in the market compared to a lot of other platforms that you've seen. And that has a number of really important benefits to how you can operate. And I also want to touch on QR codes. Most of us probably only remember QR codes or from COVID and all the fun that was. But QR codes can be really, really beneficial when deployed correctly and can really, really enable that collaboration and kind of that force multiplier for you as an organization. So those are the 3 things I'm going to look at when I touch on RedEye. I do also, before I kind of change screens and jump into my live demo, I do want to encourage you all, if you do have questions, please throw questions in the chat. I will take questions at the end, but there is a chance some of the Matrix team will be able to answer your questions as we go. And again, if you're thinking of a question, there's a very good chance someone else on this call is also thinking of the same question. So please don't hold back. Please just throw the questions at me, right? The last thing I'm going to kind of discuss and mention, I'm going to take over the screen share now, Esmeralda, there we go, as we look at RedEye, for those of you who are existing Meridian clients, I do want to also explain that there's 2 ways in which you can deploy RedEye as a platform. Okay, so RedEye, what you can see on the screen right now, is a standalone engineering content management solution in the same way that Meridian is. Okay, so that they're standalone, they can do their own thing. But it is also really important to note that Accruent has recently kind of released an integration between Meridian and RedEye. So I describe it as an and/or statement. So if you are using Meridian today, you could take a look at RedEye and go, hey, look, we're just going to go straight to RedEye, right? That's the or statement, right? Meridian or RedEye. If you are using Meridian, though, you could also choose to layer RedEye on top, and that's basically an and statement. So RedEye has some really great collaboration tools, which we're going to look at. And there may be reasons why you need to stay with Meridian, or you don't want to kind of commit to a migration from Meridian, but there is a way in which you can kind of effectively use RedEye as a collaboration layer over the top of Meridian. So again, if people on the phone or on the call have no idea what Meridian is, then obviously ignore all that and just have a look at RedEye. But for those of you who are using Meridian, just be aware that there is that slight nuance there. There's, again, I use the phrase the and or statement. So you've got the opportunity to potentially look at how RedEye could work for you as a kind of extension to Meridian, for lack of a better phrase. Or you could be looking at it as a, hey, Meridian's great, or it was good for what it was, but now we want to have a look at the future. Let's look at how we move to Meridian, move to RedEye. So that's just the key points there as a differentiator. Okay, so let's take a look at RedEye. And again, there's 3 things that I really want to focus on when we talk about RedEye right now. So to start with, if you're going to collaborate, if you're going to look at your organization and say, how do I get secure, accurate content through to everyone across our organization or externally or to other enterprise systems? To start with, you need to have confidence that the content you're sharing is accurate and up to date, right? And so you can see here within RedEye, search is first and foremost. RedEye is really built around a really powerful search technology. We surface your favorites, we surface recent information. And you can see we've got a number of different file formats that are available within RedEye as well. So as an example, this is about an 800 meg Navisworks file that's loading in real time in my web browser from half the planet away. It's really important to note that there's no additional extensions or browser Chrome extensions or software or licenses required for me to load this Navisworks file. Anyone that has access to this drawing or this model, and we'll talk about user permissions in a little bit, can click on this model, can have a look at it, can interrogate it with it. We use the Autodesk Forge plugin for anyone that's a little bit technically minded. So the UI should be familiar for anyone that's ever logged into an Autodesk product, and the ability to kind of manipulate different views, etc., etc. And that licensing and that ability to render in real time file formats extends to CAD files, extends to MicroStation, extends to Microsoft Office files, etc. Right? But I'm just going to complete a search, right? So in this case, free text search within RedEye is really powerful. You can see there in real time, I've gone from about 500 files or artifacts, we call them within RedEye, down to 22. And we've searched for the word schematic in drawing number, in drawing title, and in the structured metadata that's associated with these files, these artifacts. And that structured metadata could have come across from Meridian. Either you've done a migration with Matrix to go from Meridian to RedEye, or maybe you've just got on shared drives or OneDrive or something that can be migrated into RedEye. Or if you're using that integration I talked about before with Meridian, that can be getting pushed across from Meridian into RedEye. But what's really important here is we've only looked at that structured metadata that exists within RedEye. If I was to, for example, select search artifact content, which you can have turned on by default, I've got it turned off just so it looks cool on the demo. If I then search again, you can see I've gone from 22 search results to 28. Because what I did when I selected that little checkbox was I've now started searching on the content of the file using optical character recognition. So I'm sure some of you who've been around the industry for a while have heard that phrase OCR and been underwhelmed. RedEye as a platform actually built its own OCR tool using Google Cloud Vision technology. And it looks for all the letters and numbers on anything that's uploaded into RedEye, any kind of two-dimensional file, regardless of file type. And then that just goes into the search database. So all of a sudden you can find what you're looking for as quickly as possible. You've also got the ability to layer in as many different search filters as you want. So again, in this case, I can kind of change between what kind of artifact type it is, what kind of file type I'm looking for. I'm looking for CAD files, audio files, etc. And I can apply as many different filters as I'm looking for there. So that can be really, really powerful. Something else that's also really important to notice, if we think of again, we're coming back to the point that we're building the base for collaboration. One of the things that we notice, and this can be industry specific, but we know that a lot of utilities, a lot of oil and gas companies, people with distributed infrastructure rely very heavily on their GIS. So we have a number of different views within RedEye, and one of them, our map-based view, allows you to basically integrate your map data from Esri ArcGIS into RedEye to enable map-based search. So a lot of organizations in certain verticals are really searching via map, travel by map, so to speak. And we've got this integration that allows you to pull your GIS data. So from any map layers, I don't have any map layers because I'm a software company, I'm not a utility. But I do have kind of artifacts here that have geodata. So for example, I can go to the Colorado School of Mines, which again, all my data is US based. Sorry, I don't have any New Zealand data in here. But you can see how easily I could kind of fly into this area, and then I can see artifacts that are associated with specific assets, and these assets would be coming from your GIS instance, and then the secure, accurate drawings, documents, models, etc. are stored securely in RedEye. So it's another way to collaborate. Remember before I talked about collaboration being about internal staff and colleagues, external third parties, but also integrating with other systems. This is a really great example of how you can potentially integrate with other systems and just improve and make the search capabilities even more powerful for everyone that's using RedEye. The other really powerful search that we see, or the other really powerful integration that we see is generally with like a Maximo or an SAP or some kind of CMMS solution. Accruent does have its own CMMS solution as well, maintenance connection for anyone that's using that. But those are the two big integrations that we see. So from a collaboration perspective, remember that getting your secure data, whether it's a PDF scan of a drawing or a CAD file that was released from a contractor last month, getting those into your other CMMS or EAM solutions as well as GIS can be really, really powerful. So once you've kind of got your content within RedEye, I'm going to change view and just go back to our default view. How do you then go about sharing that information, right? How do you kind of make that information available to people? And there's a really, RedEye kind of does it very, very differently. So to start with, RedEye operates under an unlimited user license model. Has always done right from day one, right? The very architecture of how RedEye is built is designed around this very core concept of traditional kind of software platforms, on-prem historical platforms. You've got the data secure and it's all kind of built in down there, and then you share copies, right? That's how you potentially get something outside your firewall to share with an external third party. If anyone's using Meridian, maybe you're using Portal or Explorer to do that. Whereas RedEye, the two people that founded RedEye realized that by getting content into the cloud and everything being securely in the cloud, you no longer need to send copies out because you can invite people in to your content. So it's very much a paradigm shift in how you make your content available to people and collaborate. And to that end, they realized that the best way to enable that collaboration was to just remove licensing as a commercial constraint. So commercially, RedEye has always operated under this unlimited user license model. So that means that you, as an administrator of RedEye or as an end user of RedEye, can go and invite people into RedEye in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to show you how to do that now. Now, remember, I'm sure people are sitting there going, security, cybersecurity, what does that look like? How do we do that? If you've got questions, please throw them in the chat. I don't have time today to jump into every possible edge case, but I'm sure there are questions. But I'm going to go into what we call as a group in this organization. Sorry, in this RedEye environment. So a group is effectively a folder. It's a folder with a folder plus, if you will. It's a folder that can do a bunch of other stuff. And in this particular case, I'm in this folder. Maybe I created a folder just for one of my drafting consultants. And you can see here, there's a couple of different tabs for what I can do with this particular folder or this group, as we call them. And one of them is users. So if I go into the user tab, you can see in this case, my colleague Vince is the administrator of this group, but then I can go and invite people in. So there's a whole number of different permissions that are available. Again, I don't have time to jump into what you can and can't do with each of these different permissions. But in this particular case, I'm going to set a custom advanced group user. Maybe this is for a particular project. So reference project ABC. And then it's just a matter of adding my email address. And boom, I've just sent an invite, right? And then in this particular case, if this email address had never touched a RedEye before, they'd get an email saying, hey, you've been invited into RedEye. Can you click here, create your profile, and then get invited into this group that has these artifacts associated with it in real time. Because I have an account, I will get, you can see here in the top right-hand corner, we've got this little kind of bell with a 23 next to it. If I refresh my page, that should go up to 24. Because I've already got an account and a profile, and I can click this and I can just accept the invite into this particular group. Now, again, for anyone thinking why you accepted an invite to a group you already had access to, remember this is just for demo purposes. I've kind of got the super permissions to do everything I need to do. So you can see now I don't have any outstanding invitations, but I've now got 2 people in my user list. And if at any point I don't want people access to this group anymore, it's as easy as clicking this red box or this red button and removing people. So you can very, very quickly bring people into and out of your content as you need. And again, there's no kind of licenses and restrictions anymore. So it makes it really, really easy to kind of just get all the information out there. There's also no restriction on the number of groups you can have. In the same way, you can have as many folders as you want in SharePoint or OneDrive or Meridian. So to that end, you can just create a group for a consultant or create a group for a project and invite different consultants into the project. And there are some other fancier tools around like setting deadlines and things like that for people to get automatically removed and expiry dates. Don't have a lot of time today with you all, so I don't have time to jump into that. But something as a takeaway there is really just think through how you're sharing and collaborating with people today. Do you have information in SharePoint and you're inviting people into your SharePoint? Maybe your corporate IT says you're not allowed to do that. So you just zipping up folders and emailing zip files. And is that the most secure way to do it? The answer is probably not, right? Maybe you do have a really good, robust security policy in place, but is that scalable for you, or is it really, really time consuming every time you need to go about doing that? And are there ways in which you can improve that collaboration to make it easier for you, but then also make it easier for the person at the other end of that collaboration? Okay, we are getting through time. The last thing I wanted to share with everyone today, I'm going to go back to our search page, is the deployment of QR codes. So RedEye has two distinct ways in which you can deploy QR codes to do different things, but to enable collaboration in two different ways. The first one is what we call save search. So anyone with sharp eyes might have noticed save up here, and there's save searches in my sidebar. If I'm going to go to my demo, so one of my saved searches here, if I select the criteria, you can see here in this particular case, the search criteria that I saved had the word schematic as a free text field, and then a search filter for CAD files. And then I would have gone and hit save, and I went and saved the search. It's fairly cut and dry. It's exactly what it sounds like. What's really powerful with save search is every save search has a unique URL. So I could go and copy that. I can put that in an intranet, on a Teams link, send it via email. But every save search also has a unique QR code. So this QR code can then get printed, can get laser etched and deployed. So maybe you build a save search for a particular substation or switchboard or piece of equipment, maybe a floor on a plant, on a water station. We've got a couple of clients in Australia who use these QR codes for emergency muster point documentation. And the point is you can then use your mobile phone, because RedEye has a native mobile app for iOS and Android, scan the QR code and automatically get to the accurate content in real time. So that can very much be a force multiplier for you, and it can also be a really great way to embed RedEye within your operating environment by just going and printing and laminating or laser etching 30, 40, 50 QR codes and going and putting around your operating environment. It's really no different to having a pile of hard copy drawings sitting in the corner of a substation. The difference is the QR code is always going to take you to the latest and greatest version of those QR codes. And you don't have to be in the substation to access the accurate drawings, as opposed to if they're just a pile of hard copy drawings and you've got a vendor that's 300 kilometers away, they're going to bill you for a day to drive out to your substation to go and get a copy of those drawings. So that's one way in which you can use QR codes within RedEye. And again, that's very much what I refer to as a one-to-many relationship. So you've got one QR code that relates to multiple or returns results from multiple artifacts. The other way in which you can do it is to print from within RedEye. So when we print from within RedEye, so I've gone into the artifact details page here. So in this case, you can see everything you need to see about this artifact or this file. There's a whole bunch of information, there's tabs across the top and the like. I don't have time to go through everything today, but for the purposes of collaboration, I am going to print the latest version in this artifact history. Again, you can see here when I scroll through this sidebar, I can go through the history of this particular artifact. Again, another great way to look at how you're collaborating on a drawing by talking about business process and markups and reviews and approvals. Not going to dive into that today, might be for a future webinar, but I am going to print. And when I print from RedEye, you can see here that I had a couple of options there around what I'm printing. This is now generating a PDF that's going to go to my downloads folder. And that's just how RedEye operates by default. I'm now going to go and open that QR code. That QR code. Sorry, I'm just dealing with Adobe PDF. You can see here I've gone and printed this particular drawing. Zoom out. And a couple of really important things to note is you can see there's a watermark that's associated with the business process. There's still some markups there, so that's a safety kind of configuration option to make sure that you're printing the latest markups that come out of the system. And more importantly, you can see here in the top right-hand corner, there is a QR code that's been overlaid on the print. So I'm sure every single person in this room has had the experience of walking into a control room or a plant room or something, engineering office, picked up a drawing and said, is this accurate? Giant question mark, who knows, right? The QR code that's overlaid on this print is a way in which RedEye helps you as an end user manage the uncontrolled nature of a print. Because if your secure version is in SharePoint or RedEye or GIS, or maybe it's just a hard copy, right? As soon as you create a copy of that or print something, you've got an uncontrolled copy. And this QR code allows RedEye to manage the uncontrolled nature of that print. So for example, you could say you've got 50 drawings sitting in a drawing package, sitting in a substation. If you were to have them all printed from RedEye, they'd all have the QR code on them. And anytime someone went and got an electrician went and got the red pen and said, hey, I've marked up drawing 1, 2, 3, you could then go and scan the QR code using your mobile app and all of a sudden get taken to the latest digital version. There's a couple of other cool things you can do there from a collaboration perspective. Like you can use the mobile app to take a photo and upload the newest version. You've got the ability to, share that QR code, so you can very easily maybe email or Teams message that QR code and say, hey, look, I need you to look at this very specific drawing, because it's a one-for-one relationship between the QR code and the drawing. And more importantly, maybe you scanned version, or you've got version 4 of the drawing sitting in your substation. You get your mobile app out on RedEye. You scan that QR code from version 4. RedEye, as a mobile solution, recognizes that the latest version in the system is version 5, and you'll get a note on the mobile app saying you scanned an out-of-date version. All right. So there's a number of different kind of edge cases there that the RedEye platform will enable you to account for when you're collaboration on a one-to-one basis. So how are you as an organization enabling that collaboration when it comes to hard copy to digital? So we all operate with hard copy, we all operate with paper drawings. Almost all of us probably still has a plans room with vellum or microfiche or what's the transparent plastic one? There's a whole bunch of different kind of materials that people use for old drawings, as well as a whole lot of paper drawings. How are you as an organization managing those drawings would be, I suppose, a key takeaway for me. So those are the couple of points I really wanted to kind of cover off on while we were just getting you guys thinking today around your engineering content management and collaboration. I am going to pause there and turn my screen share off and see if we've got any questions come in, Esmeralda.
Yeah, we actually have couples here, but these are from the supposedly attendees that were not able to join in today.
Okay.
So, but the other one was able to answer by Casper, but you may want to further explain that one. So first one is, how do some companies in your experience balance accessibility with strict security requirements? That's the first one.
Great question. Great question. So from a starting perspective, your IT team, your organization will have a number of policies and be requiring kind of adherence to certain cybersecurity standards. So it's just a matter of going and talking to your IT team and saying, hey, what are these actually? I find there's a lot of unknowns. A lot of people just go, Steve said that we can't use cloud, right? Go and actually check. Go and actually find what your cybersecurity standards and policies are. Because quite often the answer is not we can't use cloud. It's we have to manage this risk. So go and find out what that risk is, right? And I could spend an hour talking about cybersecurity requirements and getting into kind of data at transit, data at rest, data sovereignty, a whole bunch of different things, right? But just go and ask, and there's got to be a policy somewhere or a standard. Ask for what that is, because then when you're talking to a cloud provider, you know exactly what you do and don't need to adhere to, right? And the reality is you're almost certainly using cloud in some way, shape, or form. And there's going to be some systems that probably won't go cloud for a long time. SCADA is probably a good example of that. There's plenty of cloud SCADA providers as well. You know, SharePoint, Office 365, that's all cloud-based, right? But then the other trade-off, which I mentioned before, when you're talking about accessibility, is questioning what your current what are you currently doing, what's your current state, and how secure is your current state? Because just because you might have said, hey, look, using a platform like RedEye or a cloud version of Maximo is going to introduce X level of security, is that X level of security higher or lower than your current state? Someone says assumed that your current state security is low, but when you've actually gone and done the risk assessment on what you currently do, it's actually quite high because you're inviting in third parties through VPNs or because you're just sharing content via email. So those are the two big things I'd recommend. Kind of go and find your vendor or your IT kind of requirements and get that list. And then secondly, perform some kind of risk assessment on your current state before you're actually looking at what your potential future state looks like. Good question, by the way.
Yep, thanks, David. We have another one here, although this has been answered by Casper, but you may want to expand this one. How does EDM system integrate with other tools used by external stakeholders? I think you showed some earlier. So example, CAD drawings, GIS, asset management system, and are there secure APIs or portals for external system-to-system communication?
Yeah, so Casper did a really good job answering this one. So RedEye does have a public API. Whenever you're talking to anyone that's a cloud provider, you should be checking what kind of API documentation they have, how available that API documentation is, and then if you've got an IT department or you're relying on a third party, like another kind of trusted partner like Matrix, checking with those people, checking with Matrix to say, hey, like what's do you guys have technical resources to help manage the API integration? My experience, technically, you can get any enterprise system to talk to any other enterprise system. It's a matter of you as an organization actually determining what it is you want as an end state. And I think that's something that I've seen Matrix do really, really well before, and is really just kind of working with you. And it's almost business process discussion and just scoping clearly what it is that you want. There's no point just getting X and Y to talk to each other. It's what do you want them to achieve as an end state. But yeah, Casper had a really good answer there.
Yep. Before throwing the last one, just want to ask the audience to join in the poll so that we know what topic they would want us to cover on the next webinars, because we'll be holding this one in probably in the next 6 weeks or so. So your input on the next webinar topic would help. So you can join in the poll by scanning that QR code or clicking the link. So, okay, the last questions I have here is, can external users be restricted to cloud published documents only, while external users retain full Meridian access? So this probably from the existing client that we have, yeah.
Yes, so that's a great question, and the answer is yes. So one of the reasons that RedEye was connected to Meridian to kind of become that collaboration layer was for that exact reason. If you're an existing Meridian user, you're probably familiar with Portal and Explorer and some of those add-ons to Meridian. RedEye is an alternative to those. So the integration between the two platforms sends data. So your source of truth, your controlled version of your content live in Meridian. They're then securely pushed up to RedEye. Once they're in RedEye, you can take advantage of that unlimited user license model, the groups, and some of the other functionality we just looked at. And then your external third parties can get invited into that RedEye instance. They can interact within RedEye at any point. Maybe it's just read-only access and it's there for view only. Maybe there's some kind of review and approvals happening in RedEye, and at some point they can get pushed back to Meridian. So.
Yep, thanks, David. Is there a controlled workflow for external review and approval?
There is a template, if you will, or a leading practice workflow that we kind of provide. But then depending upon your organization, the size and scale of your business, etc., Matrix could come and look at kind of like customized workflows within RedEye for each client as well. There's obviously commercial discussions there on what that looks like and etc. But yeah, there's an out of the box option, and then Matrix could look at customized options for you as well.
Yep, thanks, David. Is there any questions from the audience? Or do you have any additional, David?
No, again, that
Mhm.
was a relatively quick kind of move through RedEye. So
Yes.
if anyone doesn't have any other questions, feel free to reach out to Matrix, and if they can't answer, they can definitely get back in touch with me, and I'm more than happy to take your questions and answer them as best I can. It looks like someone else is typing, so we might just let them type.
This one is from yeah. Yep, we will send a recording after this webinar, Sun. Because there are also a few confirmed attendees for this one, but I wasn't able to join, so we'll probably send a recording for this one.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Alana here from Matrix, just chiming in right at the end to say thank you all for attending today. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn from David here from Accruent, and do contribute if you'd like to for our next webinar. The link and the QR code is in the chat, and we'll also finalize and post up the chosen topic and confirmed date on our events page on the Matrix website. So thank you once again for your attendance.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you, everyone.
David.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.